You guys all ready, or? Okay, all right. I appreciate everybody being here. Just Dave and I'll answer any questions, sort of a end of the season wrap up. So feel free to fire away with whatever you want. Yes.
For either Ron or Dave here, we talk a lot about the gradual process it takes to build a winner that's sustainable. How far along do you feel this season went with reaching or even surpassing expectations?
Well, I mean, we made a lot of changes from the deadline last year to the start of the season, and even more during the season. I think we showed as an organization we're willing to go into the free agent market, we're willing to trade for players, we're willing to use the waiver wire. Ty Cartier we signed as a UFA at a junior. So, there's a lot of different ways we've looked at trying to build it. We talked last year at the end of the year, we had 19 one-goal game losses and 7 more that became 2-goal game losses because of empty nets. That's 26, basically one-goal games. So we felt that we were a good team and made some changes over the course of summer that thought would give us a better chance. You never go into the season thinking you're going to have a 40-point increase, but it worked out that way, and it was great to see as the season started and we started progressing along. The guys liked each other. They worked hard for each other. Their main goal is winning hockey games, not personal accolades, which is always special when a team comes together and does that. And because of that, we're able to have a lot of success. So it was an exciting year for sure from that standpoint.
Dave, when you look at the pieces that Ron just mentioned being added, I'm sitting right next to you, of course, but what can you say about the job that he did in giving you the tools this year? No pressure.
No pressure, Allison. That's where all of it starts, right? When you look at the progress that we made this year, you can track all the way back and even beyond last summer. But I think Ron did a nice job in walking through the improvements to our roster and from the different areas that those improvements came from over the summer. Young player coming up at the end of the year, everything in between. So that's where that's where a lot of the progress began. Then you trace that into how that empowers guys coming into training camp and the different feel in training camp immediately. And we felt like we had a great commitment right from day one of training camp all the way through. There was a real purpose to everything that the guys were doing on a daily basis. That tracks back to your leadership. And also, like I said, that leadership is empowered by the improvement to the roster. From there, we really felt our guys did a good job this year, staying even keel, staying positive. Having a short-term memory and being goal-orientated in a short-term sort of way. If you look at the streaks that we were able to have on the winning side, that's really it's impressive because that says guys are staying even keeled after a successful win. The flip side to that is also we limited any losing streak to 3 or less, and that's also really important. That tells you that the leadership group inside of that dressing room had the ability to stay positive, stay focused, and probably tells you a little bit about their belief in themselves.
And Ron, I'll turn the tables now. You have a Jack Adams finalist sitting next to you. What can you say about that?
Yeah, no, Dave and the staff did a great job. I thought there was probably some unfair criticism thrown that way in the first year. It was a challenge the first year for us to, we want to try and get another person on the staff to help with Dave and the 2 assistants. We couldn't find the right mix, so there was a lot of extra work on the 3 of them. There was COVID issues that banned all our team building events to start the season. They're trying to implement the system that, Dave wants to play. They're trying to scout other teams that we're playing against. They're trying to understand who our players are and get them all to come together in a real tough environment. And one thing that I was impressed with last year is our team never quit. The deadline, we moved 6 pieces out, but as a GM, you're worried at that point you're going to go 0-19, and I think we went like 10-9 or something like that, and we probably could have been 14-5. So it was to me, an indication that they had the locker room, the guys believed in what they were doing, and they competed hard. This year, from day one, we had more ability to do things. We added another person to the staff, which helps with the workload. We, even a lot of the guys talked about a team building event. We got to play golf in Kananaskis and have dinner. We couldn't do that the year before, and that went a long way to our guys kind of getting to know each other, understand each other, and have some fun with each other. And ultimately, Dave's the one that's on a daily basis in the room steering that ship. I mean, I get to sit up top and watch, and we have conversations, but he has to go in there every day and work that room. And, you saw it from our guys from start to finish. They were a gutsy group, a gritty group, and that's a reflection on him and how he prepares and wants his teams to play. So really excited, not only for the Jack Adams Award nomination, but the fact that the team had the season they did, and he got some recognition because it's well deserved.
I think when people see a playoff team, they automatically assume all that team young, everything will be back next year, but it's never quite that simple, especially with the Stanley Cup playoffs. Of all the positive accolades we've heard the last couple minutes, what is the one part of this team can be back there next year, maybe even go a step or two further?
Yeah, I mean, there's no guarantees, right? It's an 82-game season. There's always ups and downs. There's risks that happen during the course of the season, but we're returning a lot of that core pieces. The biggest thing for me is just their character and their humility. I mean, they just come and they work hard every night. They give you everything they have. I mean, Game 7, they gave us everything they had. It just wasn't enough. But that's the kind of locker room and culture that's being established for this organization, and that's what we expect moving forward. So it's not going to be easy, but I know our guys will give us everything they have.
Ron, on the topic of next season, you've mentioned before that the top 9 forwards are all under contract. So for you going into this offseason, how do you improve this next year?
Yeah, we just started discussions this morning with the coaching staff and the management team and the R&D team, and we'll continue to kind of work through that. There's actually 10 forwards, I think, that are under contract for next year. I think you, like us, were impressed with the performance by Ty Cartier at the end of the year, too. So that's exciting possible piece for us moving forward. So, we do have some guys whose contracts are up. We got to make some decisions there. But there's always areas that we think we can tweak and get better, whether it's bringing people from the outside in or trying to work from an internal position to make it stronger. But we certainly think we can continue to improve.
Last year you traded for Oliver Bjorkstrand. I mean, do you feel comfortable going into this offseason if you have cap space to maybe add another player like that?
Yeah, I mean, we got 10 picks in this year's draft, and we do have cap space that if we wanted to do something, we could play around with that. But we just ended 2 days ago. I haven't even got on the phone to call the other GMs to see what's out there or not, or what's happening. But we're back at already trying to see where we can make our team better for next season.
Ron, what did you see out of Vince's game this year that allowed him to take the jump?
Yeah, I think it's just maturity. Vince came in day one last season, and there was room for improvement. And a lot of times, coaching staff talks to a player, or I talk to a player, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Ultimately, it comes down to the player and the commitment that he makes. And Vince did that. I mean, he started tweaking his nutrition. He spent the whole summer training hard in Toronto with Gary Roberts' group, and I think we saw that as the season started and went along this year, and he made huge strides. So kudos to him, and hopefully he continues to do that and continues to grow.
Are you hopeful of being able to get something done long term with him?
We're hopeful, yeah, but we'll see how those go. We haven't started them yet, so but usually if you get a deal where the team's not happy and the player's not happy, that's probably a fair deal. So we'll see if we can strive to get to that point.
Break down Matty Beniers this season from your perspective and kind of talk a little bit about your vision going forward.
You want to take that one, or you want me to take it?
Me?
Yeah. Oh, you already asked it. Yeah.
This one's all yours.
Yeah, no, it's it's hard to believe he's only played 90 games. He lost out in the Frozen Four for the NCAA title 2 years ago. I was hoping to sit and talk with him. They left town that night in the dark, so I actually went to dinner with his mom and dad and brother and sister, and we had conversations, and then talked to Matty on the phone, and just tried to point out to him that we felt he was ready for the next step. I think I said it last year after the season. I was pleasantly surprised he was as good as he was in those 10 games. I wasn't expecting that at that point in the season, but it was great to see. And then as a GM, you're always worried, okay, the kid comes in, he has that kind of success. Is he going to take it easy in the summer? But from day one in training camp, I think he only knows one way, and that's to push hard. His pace in practice is high every day. Every time he gets in a game, his work ethic is outstanding. Is his game perfect? No, but there's things he's going to continue to work on and get better. The player you see now is going to be different from the player you see 3 years from now. He's going to get bigger, stronger, harder to play against. He's going to learn some tricks of the league, and he's going to continue to improve. So really thrilled with his performance. Getting 2 playoff rounds is just a huge learning curve for a young guy like that, to see kind of how things ramp up in the playoffs and how tough it is. And, he handled himself well. So we're excited about the future with Matty.
It looks like you're spending about $9.5 on goalies next year. Is there any appetite are you open to moving your backup who hasn't modified, or are you?
Well, Jones's contract's up. He's an unrestricted free agent. And then we have Drieger. Yeah, and then we have Joey that's a Group 6 in Coachella. So we've got some decisions to make there, and we'll work through those in the next few days here and make sure that we're all comfortable in the direction we want to go and address it accordingly.
Any initial thoughts on Ryan Donato as the UFA?
Again, it's still early in the process for us in talking. Up front, Geek, Sprong, Donato are contracts that we've got to talk about here as we move forward.
Ron, where do you feel that you are right now with Shane Wright at his point of development and the likelihood that he could be on this team next year?
It's a possibility. It's really going to come down to Shane and how hard he works in the summertime, to be honest with you. He's currently in Coachella. They're playing Game 5 tomorrow night. My plan is to be on a plane down there tomorrow to watch that game, and then hopefully they're winning and advancing, and we continue to grow down there and play. But at some point we'll have that conversation on what he needs to do in the summertime. But as you saw, this is not an easy league, and we've got a good team, and he's going to have to earn it like everybody else has around here, and that includes having a big summer this summer for him.
Ron, what do you make out of his year, just in general? You've played a few different places for you guys, bouncing from World Juniors to the OHL, down to Coachella now a little bit too, with you guys for 8 games. What did you see out of his year in full when you look back and think of what he's done so far?
Well, it's a tough situation because in a perfect world, if you can't make us, you put him in the AHL, right? And that's probably the best spot for him this past year, but rules dictate that we can't do that. So, we managed to get 13 games at the NHL level if we include the exhibition games. We got him 4 games, I believe it was, in Coachella during the season on a 2-week stint. We got him the World Junior Championship where he was the captain for Canada and ended up winning a gold medal. So there was a lot of positives there in that regard. We went back to junior. I'm sure their team went, and he was as disappointed as we were that they got bounced kind of early. But, he's a young kid. We forget that these guys are 18, 19, and it takes time to understand and learn the league. And there's parts of his game he needs to continue to work on, and we'll have Jeff Tambellini and our player development staff working closely with him over the course of this season and the summer and getting into next year and continue to help him find his way to being the player he wants to be in the National Hockey League.
Ron, I'm sure the long-range plan you had in 2021 and 2022, did the success of the team this year, how has that altered how you want the long-range plan to go?
Yeah, no, we've said from day one we want to do 2 things. We want to have a competitive team up top, which I think we've built, and we want to continue to build from the ground up. We have, when we started this 2 years ago, we had nobody in our system. The only player from our first draft that played in Coachella during the season this year was Riker Evans. We'll finally start to see the Wintertons and the Melansons and the Ottavanens start to transition in there next year, but that's a key part of our process. We talked earlier about the way we built this. And we've used a lot of different things. We used cap space and free agency. We used the trades and the draft picks we accumulated. We used, our amateur staff in drafting guys like Matty Beniers and finding Ty Cartier. Our pro staff has helped us on a lot of those other things, the waiver wire, including with Tovinen. I think because we did all those things, we didn't have to do certain things at the deadline. And so I think we've still been able to maintain what we set out to do, and that's build from the ground up so that those guys can roll in at some point, but make sure we're competitive up top. If there's a way we can improve our team and we feel makes us better, we're certainly not going to hesitate to do that. But, we think we've got a good group and we're heading in the right direction.
Hey, Ron, going back to Shane for just a second, have you gotten clarification if he's eligible for the AHL next year?
There'd be some discussions we'd have to get clarity. I haven't had those discussions yet. So.
Coach Ella Valley, it's obviously their inaugural season. Just how would you evaluate the beginnings of that organization and that team and what's been built there so far?
Well, they're still playing, so that's good. Yeah, no, they had an incredible season. It was a little tough for them at the end. With our situation, we called up Frodin, we called up Hayden. Unfortunately, John got hurt. Podorowski had some surgery in January, so we missed some time. But now they've got Podorowski back as of 2 games ago, and then we returned Ty and Frodin. They played last night, so it's been well received in the community. The attendance has been outstanding. The team has had success, which has really helped in that regard. Talked to all the guys down there. They love playing there. It's pretty tough when the weather's pretty good all winter long, and maybe your biggest concern is asking the coach to move practice up to 10 a.m. so you can get 18 holes in before the sun goes down in the winter. So it's a pretty good place to play, and it's been well supported by the community. So it's exciting first year for the franchise, and hopefully we continue as we roll in some of our young guys, give them exciting hockey to watch.
Dave, there's a saying in this game, a lot of people say find a way to win, and earlier this season you gently corrected us and said your team builds ways to win and the confidence that requires. Would you say that's part of this team's identity this season?
Well, it has been right from right from day one, no question. And that starts with, from our standpoint a little bit with our depth, right? And everybody being part of it, and everybody knowing going into any night that, they've got to do their part, or else, our team, the opportunity to win is significantly damaged. But that's a fun group to be part of. You want to be, as a player, I really believe that, that's enjoyable. You want to make sure that, you have an opportunity to have an impact every night. And because of that, we had a lot of nights where we started well and it took us a full 60 minutes, but we were able to, to come out on the right side. And that has a way of building momentum and building confidence and belief within the group.
Dave, you went with 3 A's this year instead of a captain. How did that go, and do you anticipate that being the way you go into next year? Do you think you'll actually have a captain?
Yeah, I think we'll talk more about that. But I thought for this year, and as we look into the future, if that's the way we decide to go again next year, we have a group that's built really well to be able to do that. When you look at the experience and the leadership that's within our dressing room, more importantly though, it's how that group works together and the communication that they have, and their ability to be on the same page. That in our opinion, it really empowered our group this year, and that group was a extremely effective driving force within our dressing room. And in terms of the things that I talked about, staying even keel, staying positive, knowing when to push, knowing when to just take a breath and relax and look at the next challenge. The perspective that our leadership group inside of the dressing room brought to the team this year was really effective.
Speaking of even keel, Dave, how much of that is natural for you, and how much are you making sure that you don't get too emotional on the bench for the guys, because that can stoke things?
It's a combination of two. I mean, it's a combination of two, and there's emotions that are flying around all the time, whether you show them or not. Whether you see them out on the bench. It's we had a group that that it was really important just to communicate well with, because we've got a lot of good pros in there, guys that have been around, guys that understand the situation. So I really found as the year went along more and more, it was just really important just to communicate, in a real sense, the truth of the matter, the fact of the matter, where we're at, and you know, how we're going to be successful within that. And you know, guys were really receptive of that, and that again, I fall back on their experience from, you know, for that. Well, I haven't thrown a bunch of sticks on the ice. The last time I threw a water bottle was in Green Bay when I was coaching in Sioux City, and that wasn't very smart. There's a couple other incidents along the way that I don't care to get into, but no, it's you know what, everybody shows their emotions in different way, and I'm no different in that respect. But you know, I pick my spots.
Ron, what really happened with Burakovsky this year? There was a report on Sportsnet that he broke his leg. I mean, is any of that true?
No, he tore his groin 19 seconds into his first shift coming back off the 9-day All-Star break. And then, you know, he started the rehab plan. He was getting close to coming back, and then had another kind of issue that set him back in the same sort of light. And then we took another look at things and how we were going to fix it. I mean, going into the deadline, we thought he was going to be back 7 days after the trade deadline. That was what we were counting on as kind of being our piece. And then he had the setback, and then he was actually tracking really good. You know, had a 45-minute skate and then reached for something and had another setback. So at that point, we decided we needed to kind of have a little better look. So we did perform surgery, and he was going to be out 6 weeks at that point. So, but we hope and expect that he'll be 100% starting training camp next year. But certainly, you know, he went out in February. He was our leading scorer. That's a big part of our team. So, you know, we missed him, but also, you know, great job by the guys in that locker room. They didn't use it as an excuse or a crutch. They continued to fight and battle and believed in what they had, and found a way to still have some success.
Ron, if you guys were still going here, would he have been close to having a chance to get back for you, or was it
probably would have been more the finals, would be my understanding, than this next round. So, but
Ron, you've been in hockey towns before. What did it mean to see this team really connect with the city down the stretch?
it was awesome. You know, before I came here, I heard so much about the Seattle sports fan and how loud and how passionate they are. Dave and I were talking about it. That game 6 at home. I've won 2 cups. I've lost in a cup final. So I've been to some pretty loud buildings along the way. That experience in Game 6 in our building was absolutely outstanding. You know, our players, along with the success, seeing the fans that excited, seeing the community just sort of rally, gave them a huge boost. And from an organization standpoint, can't say, you know, thank you enough to our fans for the support they give us. They're vocal from start to finish. They support the team. Even when they're having a tough night, they're still trying to get them going and rally. So it was outstanding to see, and very proud to, you know, be part of the Seattle sports scene with those kind of fans.
Ron, touching on Burakovsky, Spronger told us if this team got to the conference final, he was good to go. Any other bumps or bruises?
He's our medical guy now, I guess. Nothing significant, no. There was nothing on the exits that would require surgery. So I think, you know, we had some bumps and bruises, but overall I think we came through it. Am I missing anything? I don't think so, yeah. I think everything was relatively good. Yeah.
For both of you, after a season that's had such success, what are the broad messages that you want to send your players into the offseason with in terms of what to prepare for, what to be ready for come next year?
I think we had our exit meetings yesterday, and I think we were pretty much in sync in both our meetings. You know, they should be proud of what they accomplished this year, but, you know, you should also be a little disappointed and frustrated that we didn't get to the next step. We're that close, right? And, you know, it's interesting going into the meetings, and Hack got the same sense in his meetings. You know, we didn't have to say that. Our players were saying that to us. They understood that they had a good season, but they were not happy that they didn't advance beyond this round. And so the message is, you know, go back, sort of re-energize yourself, but make sure you're putting the time in the gym and on the bike and getting yourself in the best possible shape, because we got a lot of work to do next year, and it starts from square one again. So, but I think our guys are very understanding of that task ahead.
So what's the realistic goal for next year? I mean, you say conference final. I mean,
I think the goal for me every year is get in the playoffs, and then once we get in the playoffs, you never know what can happen, right? I don't think a lot of teams had Florida playing in the conference finals. I don't think a lot of people had us in getting to Game 7 in the second round. But you get a ticket to the dance. You never know what can happen, and that should be our goal every year: get in, and then ultimately try and compete for the Stanley Cup.
You won a cup in '91 with Pittsburgh. Your team didn't have a great. You were a good team altogether. You didn't have the greatest regular season record compared to some other teams, but you went in and won the title. Tampa Bay, similar in some cases. They weren't always peaking in the regular season, but they had a playoff team. Do you think your team is built for the playoffs more so than maybe some of its record indicated in the regular season?
No, I mean we had 100 points. That's a pretty good year. I mean, the league is just so close, right? The parity in the league is tight. I mean, the best team in our division had 111 points. I mean, over 82 games, that's 5.5 different wins. So it's 3 that they don't win, and maybe 2 we don't lose or something. And the combination is you're there. So now there's teams that didn't make the playoffs that are saying the same thing. Hey, if we had won 4 more games, we would have been in, and somebody else would have been out. You can't take it that for granted that you're going to get in. It's just too hard a league. There's too much parity, and you've got to kind of deal with what happens over the course of an 82-game season. It's not a sprint. It's a long, hard grind, and there's going to be issues that you have to deal with. Like, would we have liked to have Burakovsky the whole season? Absolutely. The year before, would we have liked to not lose Tanev or Schwartz for most of the season? Absolutely. But things happen, and you have to be prepared for those. I think this year, we had a little more depth in our organization than we had 2 years ago, and we'll try and continue to build on that as well. But I can't sit here and guarantee you we're going to be in the playoffs next year. It's too good a league. But our goal is to get in and do what we can. So.
Ron, how important was the finish of the year that Philip Grubauer had, the playoff run especially, but since January they improved play, he had to kind of give you a picture of what you want to do and moving forward, that he settled in as well as he did at that spot for you?
Yeah, no, I thought Gruby had a good year. Even earlier, I thought watching the morning skate. I don't go to a lot of morning skates, but I went to the one in Colorado early in the year, and I thought, man, he really looks good. And then for 50 minutes in that game, he was outstanding. And then he hurt himself, and he was out for a few weeks. And Jonesy stepped in and did a great job, and sort of took the ball and ran for a little bit. And then, Gruby had probably some tough starts, some back-to-backs, and good teams. But I thought in those games he gave us a chance to win. And then towards the end of the season, he grabbed the ball again, and he was really good for us in the playoffs. So, pleased with the season he had, happy for him. And, we hope that he's now set kind of the standard where he thinks he can be at, and hopefully starts there and improves even more moving forward.
Question for Ron about roster construction. I mean, this team's built differently than most other teams. No huge contracts. A lot of guys in that $5 million range, some big depth. It seemed like other teams really had trouble trying to counter that. I mean, is that something you'd like to continue, or is it even possible in this league, knowing that there are good players that have to get paid?
Yeah, every GM would love to be able to do that. Unfortunately, that'll change for us too, right? That was one of the perks of being a new franchise and not having that. But we're going to have players that push that, those $5.5 million contracts northward. So we'll enjoy it while we're here, and we'll continue to try and manage it as best we can moving forward. But certainly that was a benefit for our team this year.
On that same note, a lot of people question this team. The depth was a strong point, but there was no McDavid, no McKinnon. But they continue to win. You guys continue to find success. Do you feel that you kind of buck the trend of you don't necessarily need a McDavid, McKinnon, a Crosby-like player to still have a lot of success during the regular season and in playoffs?
Well, there's not a lot of teams that have a McDavid or a McKinnon. There are an awful lot of teams that would like to have a McDavid or a McKinnon. But with a new franchise and drafting and developing, it takes time to see if you have a McDavid or a McKinnon. So from our standpoint, this is the way our roster is constructed. We believe it gave us the best chance to win. And, we'll continue to work with it and tweak it moving forward. And, hopefully our amateur guys find us some of those players you're talking about.
Question for you, Dave. Ron mentioned about Ryder and the steps he has to take to get into the NHL to be a full-time guy. Is there a bigger touch point for you as a physical and mental to know that a guy comes up and he's ready here for the NHL full time?
What do you mean by like a bigger touch point?
Whether a guy is, he's prepared physically or prepared mentally.
Well, I think it's a combination of both when you get here. And every player's process is a little bit different, and it looks a little bit different, even potentially when they get to the league. You look at, Matty Beniers came in and he was able to jump in at, a perfect time for him, and he took advantage of that and had success for those 10 games. He was able to roll that into a good summer and then a really confident training camp. Carts for us did it a little bit differently, right? Completely different pathway in terms of his pathway towards becoming, an NHL player. Went through the American League for the year, started with, a limited role there in a third, fourth line role, built his confidence, and by the time he came here, we were able to plug him right into a very similar role here in the NHL that he was playing in the American League. So a writer's path is going to be different than that as well, and there's different pressure points on these players. There's different expectations, and ultimately, we have to let Ryder, go through his own path, and he has to be the driving force. He has to have a great summer. And he's in control of that, and then he has to bring himself into training camp next year with the mental part and the physical part both, together, ready to have a successful training camp, and that's going to be his pathway.
Ron, what did you make of Will Borgen's first full-year playing time in the NHL, and looking, pretty reliable second pair for you? And just how do you kind of view him and going into this offseason as an RFA, but the year he had and how he fits with you guys moving forward?
Yeah, no, he had a real good year. Will was starting to get that chance in Buffalo, and then he broke his hand and missed some time. And then last year with us carrying 8, it was a little tough to get him ice time. But this year, he stepped in, and I thought he took advantage of the opportunity he was given. Played real well. Physical by nature, and there's still room to work on and improve, but I thought he took big steps in the right direction this year for sure for our club.
You guys brought in Steve Briere at goalie this season. Just how would you evaluate the impact that he was able to make for your Netminders?
I thought he communicated really well from day one, and that's the first part. Being able to communicate and know what a goaltender needs. And I thought he did that very well with each of the individuals, not just the 2 guys here, but all of the guys within our system. And then from there, it's building a plan that leads to success on the ice, and a sustainable plan throughout the year. I believe Steve did a nice job with that with each of our guys. And then you have to be adaptable throughout the year as you run into different situations. So at the end of the day, I look at the goaltending position as an area of strength for our team this year, and the credit goes to certainly first and foremost to the players, to the goaltenders, but Steve did a nice job working in conjunction with them in building that type of a season.
Ron, a couple more here. Speaking of goaltending, Chris Rieger, when he got back to you guys, what did you make of the play he had down in Coachella and where he's at physically and get back to this fight since his injury?
Yeah, physically he's 100%. I actually talked to him the other day before we returned him bound to Coachella. Said the knee feels great, so that was good. It hasn't even been a year since he tore his ACL, so it's going to take him some time getting in games and starting feel comfortable with that. But he worked his tail off all year to try and get back into the lineup and back on the ice, and he's down in Coachella now. Joey's playing lights out right now, so he's backing him up. But it's going to take some time. But overall, I thought he was trending in the right direction.
Ron, you talked about trying to build and improve this team, whether it be from additions outside or from within the organization. In his first full year, what have you made of Riker Evans down with Coachella?
Well, he made the all-rookie team, so that was a good sign. It was the all-star rep for the team down there. His game has gotten better and better. He's an effortless skater. I was there for the Game 5 last round against Colorado. I thought he was lights out. I was saying to Dave, there was kind of maybe one mistake that he made, and it was not the wrong thought process. It was just the execution wasn't, perfect, but eats a lot of minutes. His defensive game is coming along. He's putting up points, scored the game winner the other night in triple overtime. So he's had a heck of a year. He makes the all-rookie team. Ty makes the all-rookie team. Ty's the all-rookie, the rookie of the year down there. And, we might be a little biased, but we're leaning towards Matty as the rookie of the year up top. So, there's a lot of good kids, and certainly Riker's a big piece of that.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, guys.
We got food next door for you all, too, if you want to grab something to eat. So appreciate all your coverage this year. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.